Hi everyone, I'm Andrea Bum, Clinical Education Specialist with GE. Can you all hear our audio? We just want to double check and make sure everyone can hear what we've got going on here. All right, so we got a thumbs up. That's off to a great start. So again, I'm Andrea Bum. Thank you so much for joining us on this 6-week Phototherapy Friday journey. We're so grateful for your participation, and it's been a lot of fun for us. I have worked as a clinical education specialist for the last 2+ years with GE, and then I've been a NICU nurse for the last 10 years. So that is kind of my background, and of course you've probably seen me in some of those videos, so happy to be here live with you all and get a chance to talk with you and answer some questions. And then Tracy?
Hi. I'm Tracy Lynn, and I'm one of the clinical education specialists with GE for a good number of years. I've been a NICU nurse for over 40 years and also a neonatal nurse practitioner in my previous life. So have been out there some time and have seen a lot of things, and so I may have met some of you before somewhere some time ago, but it's fun to be able to talk with you. Just wish I could see you guys as well, but that's not what we're doing here today. So it would just be me talking with you, and hopefully you ask some questions and we can have a little bit of dialogue going on. So thanks for being here.
Awesome.
Back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is our live Q&A. Again, as kind of mentioned before, please type in your chat box any questions that you may have. We were fortunate enough to have some pre-submitted questions that we're going to be able to address with you all today, and hopefully that kind of takes care of a lot of the popular questions. And look forward to some surprise questions on our screen as we go along. So really the reason why we're here and where Phototherapy Fridays kicked off was with the advent of the BiliSoft 2.0. So this system is an amazing system. The pads are nice and soft, as the name would imply. Really allows for a lot more maternal-infant bonding and maneuverability with the device. And so phototherapy's come a long way, and Tracy is our ever-loving expert. So we are going to let her kind of tell us the history of things and where we started and where we are now. So,
well, technology, as you all know, has really evolved, leaps and bounds. And in my little world of nursing, I've seen phototherapy go from white light with fluorescent lights and tubes of fluorescent lights with banks of lights. And then there was a time we started having blue lights, and then because that was making everybody sick, we started doing blue and white on those banks. And then eventually there was a spotlight that was a halogen light source, and that was giving out a lot of heat. And people would use it as exam lights as well because it's a great light source, and you're tripping over all these devices. Then the bili blanket came about, which was a pad, a fiber optic pad, but the light source was still halogen. So even so, though, we were able to deliver through the fibers to the end of a pad. However, limitation was the size of the pad. It was only 4x6 illuminated area, so not a lot of surface area. But eventually, we came out with the BiliSoft, and then there were other versions of spotlights, but today we know blue LED light source is what we want. And so luckily, all of our products have blue LED lights, different choices for different purposes, and so we'll be going through the 3 products we carry. And but really, even looking at the BiliSoft 2.0 that's being highlighted here, the original BiliSoft, which only came out only about 10-12 years ago, we actually had 6 LED lights in the light box, and then fiber optic fibers to the end, and then we offer two sizes of pads. Well, in these short years, we now have a BiliSoft 2.0 that uses only 1 LED, and that's very humbling to go from 6 to 1 and still be able to give as much light. And we also improved on the pads. They're nice and soft. Really fantastic how technology has keep going, and we're just a very little part of it, but we're enjoying using them for sure.
Definitely. So we hope you guys are as excited and that those videos kicked off lots of questions and just overall excitement for the BiliSoft 2.0, because as we'll see in some of the questions that were pre-submitted, there's a lot of great features with the product. So with that being said, we are kind of limited to time, so we can just go ahead and get started with our first question. Please, again, type in questions as we go along in that chat box, and we'll get to them as we proceed. So the first question then, what pad size should I choose? So Tracy, I'll have you kind of take that away.
Okay, sure. So let's move over to this table over here, and you see we have the two sizes of BiliSoft pads available. The smaller one, you notice, is actually bigger than the previous small pad. It's now 8 inches by 10 inches. We also put in this little diagram of a baby, so you know where to position the baby, and also these circles where you could check with your light meter. And the larger pad, you see there are 9 circles instead of 6, and it's 10 by 12. 10 by 12 this way. So the question is, which pad should I use for a baby? And it's really up to you. There's no right or wrong. So just keep in mind the smaller pad offers you 50 microwatts of irradiance, whereas the larger pad offers 35. So do you want more surface area coverage and less light intensity, or the other way around? But really, if I have a small baby who's only 1 kilo, I probably will choose the smaller pad because that would cover the baby really well and gives me the 50 microwatts. The larger baby, who's more like 35, 36 weeker, I would use the larger pad, and you see how where the baby's head is positioned, how well it covers the body really well, and then you just wrap this. So definitely they get some irradiance on the side as well. So no right or wrong, just your preference.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, no, that's great. Great description of the pad size. So with that being said, I think we can probably move into our next question.
Okay.
Which is, how do I choose between the flat pad and or the nest? So also a great question. Now, the nice thing is that we make both the nest, so a little bit of containment boundaries, as well as the flat pad for both the small and the larger size. So any combination, right? Kind of up to you. People did write in and say, how do I choose? And really, there's no scientific reasoning to it other than what do you need for your baby, or what does that baby need? So for instance, it looks like we've got a question. Is there a weight limit for the pad? Oh, excellent question, Marianne. So there isn't. So where we kind of go in what Tracy was saying with the surface area is that you want to make sure that there's coverage. So for those larger babies, the nice thing about that size pad is that even regardless of weight, it's more about the surface area coverage. So just really wrapping them up and getting that flank coverage, possibly adding in a second blanket. That was actually a question in our last session, and we'll kind of review that towards the end. We just kind of added it in for you. But at any rate, there's no weight limit for the pads themselves, more just a guidance of what you want your surface area coverage to be. Okay? Thank you. All right, so we'll kind of get back to the nest versus the pad. And again, it's really baby preference, right? So I say user, but the baby's the boss. So this nest provides boundaries. So personally, I choose the nest because most of my babies want boundaries. Maybe those bigger kids don't need the boundaries and a flat pad will suffice. Either one swaddles in a blanket nicely. So it's kind of, again, what that baby needs, and you're good with either choice. So hopefully that answers or addresses some of that confusion if there was some. And I think that covers the pads and then the covers. So
yeah, I think it does.
Yeah, great question from the audience. And let's see if, okay, what is the best way to set up the BiliSoft 2.0 for use in the Giraffe OmniBed? And then which openings do I use, and how should the light pad be positioned in the bed? So this is a great question because there are multiple ways to do it. So some units will have the head of the bed up here towards the humidity tank or reservoir, and then some will have it towards the screen end of the bed. We'll kind of cover both ways, but essentially, if we are going to put a baby on phototherapy, and let's just say this is for my 1 kilo baby. So here's my 1 kilo baby. I've already undressed them. Mom's going to do some kangaroo care while I get this bed set up, and then we will light that baby up in a little bit. So thank you, Mom, so much for holding. I will go gather my supplies, which will include my BiliSoft pad. And again, that's a 1 kilo baby. So I'm going to grab that smaller pad that can kind of house that 1,500 gram infant or less, depending on your surface area coverage. So I will grab that small pad. I will grab my bili meter, of course, because I'm going to check that out. And then personal preference. Again, I want my baby to have some containment, so I'm going to take this nest from my supply closet. I will grab my eye patches, so we always want to make sure that we're protecting their eyes, and then my light box. So I will grab my light box and plug this in at the bedside. I'll just set my patches and nest right here, meter to the side. I'm going to, before I get into my patient's environment, I'm going to select Air Boost because I really do want to maintain that environment we've created for them and protect them from this external draft. Now I can drop this side panel. Something that you guys may, sometimes it gets lost in translation, but we do have this translating base with that baby Susan, so we can really reposition that bed to get access to the baby and set this bed up. And you'll see that a little bit later as well. But just as a kind of reminder, refresher that that's there for you. Again, although we're only talking about phototherapy today, you can do that for procedures, intubations, that kind of a thing. All right, back to phototherapy. So I've put my pad in the bed, and now I want to take my cable. And this is actually a really nice bonus of the BiliSoft 2.0. This cable is a little smaller than our previous BiliSoft cable. So what I'm going to do though is I'm going to slide that into the side grommets. And the reason we say side grommets is for accessibility. So we want mom to be able to get that baby out, swaddle that infant, get that baby out, breastfeed, snuggle, all those good things. And the way to improve that is by going through the side grommet. That way their access is not limited by length, and also so that we don't have to open the canopy to get out of this middle U-shaped grommet in the front or back of the bed. So if I'm placing my head of the bed up here, and again, those pads do have the pictures of the baby on it, which is quite nice. I will thread my cable through the side grommet, and now I can go ahead and I can just plug it into the BiliSoft light box. So I will take care of that there. I'm going to, while my side is down, and just as a sidebar, we recommend checking the 6 points on the small pad, 9 on the large pad of irradiance prior to putting your pad cover on. So we'll just go ahead for this training and say we've already covered that technical aspect. So I'm just going to put my pad cover on. All right, and again, this is if my baby's head of the bed is up this way, and we'll kind of see that in play. So now I will turn my bank on. And we'll talk about the bili meter a little bit later, but ultimately what you'll have to do is turn your bili meter on, let it calibrate with the cap still in place, undo the cap, and then do your spot check. So you really do want to make use of locking in that circle button. Otherwise, your reading, once you lift up, will start changing with the ambient light. So we got 51.3, and then I will release and take my second check. And so you basically go across the middle and average that reading out. So for that, we will do 55.2. And I'd love to say I'm much better at math on the spot, but that's just not the case. So we're just talking through the general procedure for you all. So I've checked that, and now my 30 minutes has lapsed. Kangaroo time is up. We're ready to put this baby on phototherapy. Thank you so much, Mama. We've got this baby in a diaper. The next thing we need to do is put eye patches on that baby. So we always want to make sure that we are putting protective eye gear on our infant before they go on the light. Even with the blanket or with the BiliSoft 2.0 pad, obviously babies are wiggle worms, so we want to make sure that we are protecting them no matter what, even though the pad is underneath of them. And so now I will place this baby back into bed, tuck them in nicely into the bili nest, and wrap. And we can just bring them midline. And wrapped up. And now we've got a snuggled baby on phototherapy. We can close our side panel. And there you have it. All right. Any questions from that process? Anything that comes to mind? Okay. All right. So we will just head into our next question then. So does the BiliSoft 2.0 provide heat to the baby, and can it burn the baby? This is a very popular question and kind of one of those phototherapy myths, I guess you could say. So to talk through that, what I really want to point out is that, as Tracy mentioned, we went from 6 LED lights to 1, and that LED lamp is actually housed in the light box. So the warmth from that light is contained to this box. There's a fan in the system and then 2 side vents. So that heat is actually being dispersed out into the environment from the light box itself, not actually being transmitted to the pad. So the pad does not receive any heat to put off to the baby. Now, an important consideration, though, is going to be the fact that when we add in our phototherapy blanket, so we're adding in a blanket, especially for those big kids that can get a little sweatier, you're adding in a blanket, you're adding in positioning devices, right? So we're putting on the pad cover, we're putting in the nest, maybe we're swaddling them. And so we're just adding elements that can contribute to the heat pattern and to the environmental temp for that infant, right? So things that they're up against and that whole heat gain, loss, and transmission pattern. So something to really consider is the positioning aids that you're utilizing and how that's contributing to the temperature, not the actual pad itself in the phototherapy. And I guess there was a second part to that question, right? So can it burn the baby? And the answer is no, it cannot. So again, there's no heat being transmitted, so no burns taking place.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. I think we will move on to our next question, and that looks like, how do I mount the Giraffe Blue Spot to a warmer, and then what's the best way to use and position it? And so we've got Tracy over here, who I think is going to take it away.
Okay, thanks. So here's, I am with the warmer, and you have the Giraffe warmer with the blue PT spotlight mounted to the side, and typically, question comes out, where should I mount it? And typically roughly around where the end of the resuscitation unit is up here is probably a good spot to have it. And one of the concerns we want to make sure you're cautious about is where the fibers, and then here there's a lens and then the cone. So we don't want you to grab it right here to move it. We would like you to hold on to the light pipe and then use this neck to move it around this way, okay? So that's one point. The other point I want to make sure I talk about is this heater delivers a lot of heat, and the heat pattern comes to a middle here and directed on the back to the mattress. You do not want to be in the path of this heat. So if you could imagine, this is the midline of the heater, and this is where the heat comes to a cone and comes down here. From where you are, you can see I'm not in the middle. You know, I'm not here, I'm more to the side. And so this is a very important point, because you certainly don't want this area, this light pipe directly under the heat, because it will heat up and it will damage the fibers and the casing and everything else. And so that would not be good for your equipment for sure. But definitely this is the midline, so try to be a little off to the side. Look at your circle, you still have your good irradiance on the mattress. And next point, third point, is being 38 centimeters from the patient, and 38 centimeters is roughly 15 inches. So if I have a good sized baby like this one, that circle will probably meet our needs pretty well. So with his eye patch on, the little baby is placed here, and he's covered very well here. Now, suppose he was a 11-pounder and he's occupying most of the mattress. I just need to move this light further back, okay? And you don't have to worry about the fact that you're not giving enough intensive light, because what you're doing is at 38 centimeters or 15 inches, we're able to deliver 45 microwatts. And once I'm further away, if you use a light meter to measure, I'm sure you can easily get around 30 microwatts. And that's our goal, to give at least 30 microwatts per centimeter nanometer. And we have the nice blue light. So this is how you would do it, okay? And just be careful how you position the light. It works really well, just not in the center of the heater. Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you for describing that. I know it's always, positioning's always a sweet spot, right?
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I think we've got another question coming in. Yes. So my baby is on the blue spot and the bili level is not coming down. What do I do? And Tracy, while you're here with the blue spot.
Sure, makes sense that I cover that. So you're delivering nice blue light to as much body surface area as possible, and the irradiance is at least over 30 microwatts. And baby's feeding and everything is going well, but you still have this bili level that's not coming down. And so probably the best way is to improve on your surface area coverage, because we're giving enough intensity and we are giving blue light, and other than factors like the baby feeding, pooping, all those good stuff needs to be happening at the same time. The other thing you can consider doing is adding another light source, and that would be coming from underneath the baby, since this is coming from the top. So I would want to take a pad, a BiliSoft 2.0, and if I were using it on this baby, I would make sure the cover is on. I've done all my testing already, and then I would place this down here and then have the baby lay on it, and make sure you position the cable nicely around between the mattress and the in-bed scale, because if you plan to weigh the baby in the in-bed scale, you're going to need to not have this be dragging down or, you know, affect your weighing as much as possible. So if you have it nicely tucked between the mattress and the scale, then you can plug this into the light box. Thank you, Andrea, for that light box. And so you see how this is nicely positioned out of everybody's way. And then thank you for turning it on. And then you have nice blue spot for therapy coming from underneath. With this pad, I'm delivering at least 35 microwatts of life. And above, I'm also doing something similar. So you've doubled your surface area. And that's what I would consider double phototherapy today. 2 devices, okay? So thanks for that question. Very good question. We get asked that a lot. Yeah. Back to you, Andrea.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you for going through the mattress and scale, because you know, this is a different cut of the bed depending on the unit. And so we showed one way over here. It's nice to be able to see that played out in the real world. So
of course. Thank you.
Thanks for covering that. All right. So let's just see if we've got another question. All right. We have a Lullaby PT. How do you measure the irradiance of it? So this does get asked a lot. Lullaby is our bank light. So what I'm going to do is I'll just set up a bassinet and we will bring the Lullaby in. I've got one over here. Let me just grab all of my little supplies. So nice little polka dot blanket for our sweet little babe. And then here is my Lullaby bank light. As you guys are probably aware from the videos, you have the power button on the back, and then you also have the higher intensity, lower intensity. So I'm just going to flip this on. We do still want to let that saturate for 5 minutes before we're measuring that irradiance. And you can measure the irradiance either with an empty bed or with the baby in the bed. So we will just bring our little man over. Of course, he's got his safety patches on. We can slide him in here. On the Lullaby, on the bottom, you have the measurement. So just like on the cone over on the blue spot, we've got a measurement over here. Now that's 38 centimeters. This is 35. The difference comes out to be about 14 inches here, 15 there. So pretty similar in terms of that. So you'll want to, do your measurement from the baby, and then of course we will grab our bili meter. And this is where we can see it a little closer, but you have your on-off switch on the bili meter on the side, so we will go ahead and turn that on. This circle is your lock button, so we just want to make sure that's unlocked so that we can get a true reading and not just the one from previous. And then what we're going to do is when we turn that on, we leave the cap in place. We leave the cap in place until we see that it has calibrated and we have our zeros on the screen. At that point, we're going to take the cap off and you'll start to see readings. And now we're going to put this at the level of the infant, and I can go ahead and lock that into place and show you all. So we get a 42.1. Now, we're showing you today just that one spot. Some places do a multi-spot and then take the average. So what that would kind of look like if we just kind of did this again and did like, say, a 4-point check. Again, not going to do the math, but you'll get the idea. So we've got our zeros. and we can just go, whoops, bad teacher, had that lock button in. So that is actually a good example. If you keep that lock button in, you will not be able to get a reading because it'll be locked on your previous setting. So just as an FYI, I will unlock that. I just want to keep you guys on your toes. Make sure you got that Bili meter down. So we've got our zeros here. Of course, I'm unlocked, and I will remove that cap. And I can get my first point, lock it in, jot that down, so 46.4. Press the circle button again to release, move over. So we got 30.7 on a lock. And I will release, and I will come over here. And I've got 39.2, release, and my fourth point, 50, release. And now if I was a mathematician, I would tell you what the average is. And otherwise, you can just check my math on your own computer. Yell it out if you want to. If you're a mathematician, I welcome that kind of brain. All right, so that is how you check the irradiance of the Lullaby. Now, just with any other overhead light, the further you raise that up from the infant, the lesser irradiance you are delivering. And again, 30 microwatts and greater is kind of what we're recommending now. If it is your policy or your practice to start lower, also acceptable. That's where your own clinical practice comes into play. So that is checking the irradiance on the Lullaby. Excellent question. All right. Further questions regarding Lullaby or anything else? Thank you for taking that.
No problem.
Okay, so I think that there were a couple questions from the first session that we can address. Since the Bili blanket is fiber optic, do the eyes need to be covered 100% of the time? Tracy, did you want to come into that?
Well, the baby is a very dynamic, active being, and so they can wiggle around a lot, and it's easy for the cover to be shifted and not be covering the eyes well. But overall, the other thing is, will they see the light? That's the question, and definitely we don't want that possibility as much as possible. So to always use an eye patch on the baby and be sure to check the eyes periodically and clean the eyes, that kind of thing. I know you do that, but definitely we do recommend using eye patches regardless of which phototherapy units you use, just because the baby is so active and we need to protect their eyes, and you don't know when they're going to have the eye patch be skewed and not, covering perfectly. So 100% of the time, I would say yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
No
With
problem.
conviction.
With conviction. Yeah, that's the only thing I can be sure about,
There's more things.
Yeah,
All
my
right.
age.
All right, so we will just go ahead and mosey on into our next question.
Okay.
Oh, the long one, the one where I have to check
Yeah.
my eyes. All right, so what are your thoughts of in-room phototherapy? This is great. When overhead lights are needed at a baby-friendly facility. I understand the risks are low and benefits are high when using the BiliSoft, but not all babies qualify for BiliSoft alone. So I think we'll stop right there and address that first part because it's kind of lengthy. And Tracy, did you want to continue on? Or?
No, you do a great job talking about how to work with that.
Oh, okay.
Questions. Yeah.
So absolutely, in-room phototherapy, so obviously we are all moving towards that baby-friendly initiative, and we do want to keep baby with mom as much as possible. So while we aren't here to tell you what can and cannot be done in-room, certainly the devices allow for it, depending on what your facilities, policies, and procedures are. So we never want to take away from the fact that you guys all have clinical policies, procedures, and guidelines in place, and we're here to talk through things that we've seen along the way. So if a BiliSoft 2.0 pad is not alone is not cutting it, and that baby's bilirubin continues to rise, you can consider putting an overhead light on, of course. So you could, our Blue Spot.
Is this a second part?
All right. Yes, so we do have a second part to that question. What are your recommendations for eye protection for parents who are within feet of the overhead lights, often under or looking up at the lights? Also, the risk of eye patches shifting and not covering the infant's eyes while parents sleep. So this goes back to that baby-friendly initiative. And this particular viewer had written in that question and kind of a multi-part question regarding in-room phototherapy. And so first of all, if we're using the overhead lights in the room and the parents are, or caregivers are complaining of that blue light irritating them or giving them headaches, absolutely they can cover their eyes. So there are many different brands and avenues of purchasing to get blue blocking shades or glasses. Some facilities already have them in stock. Others may choose to go to a just regular store, regular website, and just purchase some for mom and dad. But certainly you can get those, give them to them if they have complaints. Per our manual and our recommendations, it's not required. It's just simply if this would make it easier on the parent, then absolutely. If we're using in-room phototherapy and that blue light's bothering them, get them those blue blocking shades. So that covers the parent part. And then the other question was the eye patches and the shifting. So as we've addressed, right, babies move around a lot. And so really in-room phototherapy in a baby-friendly hospital will be no different. The added bonus though is that you've got mom who is a constant teammate and advocate for that baby. So they'll have their eyes on the baby's eyes and they can kind of help you out. So whereas in a nursery or a NICU, you may not stare at that baby all the time. I can promise a new mom's probably staring at that baby most of the time. So they'll be kind of your eyes and ears. And of course at night, they may shift, right? And that's okay. That happens in the real world. That happens in NICUs across this country, right? So really just periodically checking on their eyes, making sure that those patches are in place and you're good to go. But certainly wouldn't preclude you from doing in-room phototherapy. All those concerns can be addressed and definitely involve mom and get her active. They want to be advocates and they want to be team players. So.
Yeah, and there are many types of eye covers out there. So find a type that works for you. You know, they're different quality and different designs. Some may work better than others. So definitely do some shopping.
Yeah, who doesn't love shopping?
Yeah.
All right. So I think, do we have any other questions coming through? All right. Anyone in the audience, did you want to type in a couple questions, or was there a topic that you'd love to hear covered that we didn't cover yet? All right, so we've got one. Can you show how to position the pad if the head is at the north end? And so that goes back to when Tracy was at the warmer, the discussion of the head and then kind of tucking the, yeah, we can absolutely do it. Tucking in between the mattress and the scale. Sorry guys. Trying to multitask.
You still want the nest, or you just use that one? Yeah, you can swaddle.
This way. Okay. So if we are threading in through the other end, so we will just kind of lift this baby up. Place them at the head, and now what we want to do is still come through that side grommet, so no different in that recommendation, but we are going to tuck in between, and I'm going to slide this out. Hopefully you guys can get a good view. Again, just always wanting to show the benefits of that baby Susan and that translating base. So we can, as you see, we can tuck that cable in between the mattress and the scale. And now when you're weighing that infant, it won't be a huge, you won't see any effects of the draping the cable or effects on that weight. So this is our best recommendation. Thank you so much for the light box. And so you will plug that into the light box. We will slide baby back in bed, and we can just bring this right through, the cable right through the side grommet. We're nice and tucked in, and we can close up that door. Okay, and so now you've got, your baby can be south end, north end, sideways even, really.
Yeah.
In that bed, and you can have a way to thread the cable and access the baby.
We can turn it on because we did.
Yep.
Move it over for you. Okay.
All right. Thank you for that question.
Yeah, good question.
And can you show how to swaddle and breastfeed? Yes. So actually, Tracy, I'll have you take that swaddle and go from that side because I work on a right-handed basis.
Oh,
or do you?
I have to be because to pull the cable out.
Oh, pull the cable out.
Yeah,
okay. Then I can.
Yeah, so maybe you can do it. You'll be fine. Just,
all right.
Yeah. Air boost is still on, so you can definitely.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got the baby on the BiliSoft 2.0 pad. We can just bring hands to mouth. And again, the swaddle may not be my tightest swaddle ever because I'm coming from the other side. But all right, and now you can leave that bottom tip. You can either leave it undone and just dangling for that cable, or again, you can just kind of tuck it in. Either way, whatever works for you. And so we just will swaddle that baby like this. And now the nice thing is if I slide baby out and I will just bring cable with me, I will take it out of the side grommet. I can push my base back in. And now what we can do is we can just, mom can manipulate, thank you so much. Mom can manipulate the sides of the BiliSoft pad to be able to access baby. So she can just kind of tuck that under and roll over. And now she still has access to baby's little ears, hair, you know, everything, cheeks, everything. So that is kind of how you would swaddle in the BiliSoft 2.0 and then breastfeed.
Yeah. Sorry we don't have a chair for you, but knowing you, you'll probably be doing multitasking, so she'll be doing this and going around to the treadmill or to a computer, right?
I wish.
Yeah.
Probably
I
eating a
didn't
snack.
mean to laugh about, you know, but love Andrea, and I know she does multitask a lot, so I just had to say that.
All right. Any questions on, any further questions, anything we can address for anyone? All right.
Okay.
Well, we've got a hungry baby right here, a hungry Andrea right here.
That's probably true.
Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining. We really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to attend the sessions, the last 6 weeks to join us on this journey, and then to submit your own questions, because your participation and your interest level means everything to us. So thank you so much.
Yeah, we're very happy to be able to take this journey with you, and we know at least 2,000 of our our clinicians have joined us the last 6 weeks, and I don't know how many are on today, but anyway, we had 3 sessions, and this is the final session. So thank you so much for being with us, and happy Friday and happy Easter.
Yes.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend. Thank you.